What's going on? This is Kingfisher here. Today I wanted to break down a dark piano and string beat that I made in the style of an artist like 21 Savage. This beat came about one day when I was just scrolling through Splice and came across this interesting string ensemble loop. I knew I didn't want to have it looping throughout the whole beat, so I brought it into Fruity Slicer and chopped it up. Once I had some chops that I liked, I knew I wanted to add some effects to make it sound grittier. So I added a sketch cassette, an RC20, and a couple EQs just to tame some resonant frequencies and cut out the unnecessary low end. Now that I had those string chops looping and I was liking how they were sounding, I knew I needed to add some sort of support layer to carry the melody. I added a piano that I found in the Scorch VST with a simple progression that sounds like this. I wanted to give this piano the same feeling as the strings, so I routed it to the same mixer channel with the sketch cassette and the RC20. The only difference was I put a halftime on the piano for one of the sections of the sample. The next thing that I added was a textured key sound that I found in the Octave VST. I copied the exact same MIDI pattern from the original piano to this new key sound, just to give the melody some more texture and to fill it out. The effects that I put on this key sound included a Valhalla delay, just to make it a bit more ambient, a stereo shaper to spread it out in the mix, a Valve compressor to reduce the dynamic range, and a shaper box with a sidechain preset to reduce the attack of the key. The next thing that I added was an ambient string sound that I found in Analog Lab. I thought this would be really useful to transition the beat from the verse to the hook. The effects that I added to this sound included a pan man to make it pan from left to right, an RC20 to make it sound more vintage, and a Valhalla room just to spread it out in the mix a bit. The final melodic elements that I added to this beat were a bass sound that I found in the Mini VST and Analog Lab, and some key stabs. After I structured all these melodic components out into a song format, I rendered them all into one audio clip and then brought them into a separate project to start working on some drums. So most of the time, the first thing that I like to add to my beats is a hi-hat. When I'm making the hi-hat pattern, I like to generally try and match the vibe and bounce of it to the melody. Normally, I like to start with a simple 2 or 4 bar loop and then copy it over and add some variation in certain sections. I also added some low notes as well as some accents in another pattern just to give the drums some more bounce. The next thing that I added was a snare and clap with a standard pattern. An accent snare and a rim. After that, I pulled out a Spins 808 and drew in a pattern that matched the root notes of the chord progression and got progressively busier as the pattern progressed. Next, I layered some of the notes with a kick and made sure to check the polarity to make sure that the notes weren't clashing. beat was pretty much finished at this point, so the only other thing that I added was some open hats and a crash. So to structure the beat, I put the original string sample that I found from Splice as the 8-bar intro, then moved on to a 16-bar hook and a 32-bar verse. I made sure to add and remove certain elements in various sections and make some cuts in the beat to keep it interesting. So with that being said, that's pretty much my process on how I would make one of these types of beats. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful, let me know in the comments below. Also be sure to give the video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. So with that being said, we'll see you in the next one.